Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to conquer the subscribe button, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, in a gorgeous green forest, a lonely knight wakes up from his nap, unable to remember how he got there, and who he is. Calming down, he begins to assess his equipment, recognizing his armor as powerful gear with holy enchantments. His cloak as resistance from dark magic, whilst also ability to regenerate mana, a shield that has unlimited immunities and a sword that is encased in lightning. Putting the pieces together, our protagonist remembers his name as Ark, the character he plays in the game. Having fallen asleep at his desk, Ark wonders if he's dreaming, but knows that the equipment he's wielding feels all too real. Testing out a skill, Ark grips his blade, casting Wyvern Slash, only to chop down tens of trees in an instance. Amazed at his sheer strength, Ark begins testing his magic capabilities, casting a fireball on a tree, and completely deleting it. Realizing that his character follows a holy knight built in his supposed game, Ark deduces that he's able to use other classes, which led to him becoming a holy knight. Wanting to try out more skills, Ark reasons it would be best to eat first, so he should head to a nearby town, to stock up on money. Casting Gate, Ark is suddenly thrown off the ledge, as Gate teleports to towns a player has already been to, so Ark must visit one first. Using a movement spell, Ark is able to step through the air, easily able to use the spell multiple times, making movement a breeze. Stopping at a nearby lake, Ark takes off his helmet, only to realize his bony face. Realizing that his original build consisted of him having a skeleton figure, Ark realizes that he should never reveal this to the townsfolk, as they are sure to be freaked out. Making it to Louvierte town, Ark overhears some men talking about a spotting of a basilisk, but carries through the town, noting the realistic and carefree people, as a nearby villager attempts to sell Ark some items. Catching a whiff of a roast chicken, Ark sets his goal to obtain money, stumbling into an alley. Overhearing a conversation, Ark hears a girl mad at someone she hired, as they had tricked her and stole her money. Before she leaves, Ark grows excited, learning that the girl is of the elven race. Heading to the mercenary guild, Ark draws the attention of many adventurers, standing out with his luscious armor. When the guild master questions Ark's reason for coming, Ark is forced to fake a backstory, only revealing what is believable. Wanting a license, Ark learns that he must slay and bring proof of any 3 beasts, monsters or bandits. As Ark leaves, some fellow adventurers begin to speculate the reason for such a prestigious knight, having to do some dirty work, but Ark grows excited having a mystery around his name. Easily slaying 2 low-tier monsters, Ark begins to think about how food will taste, almost able to taste the roast chicken, but gets distracted when he encounters an orc. Cleaving through the orc, Ark calls the mission a success, making his way back to the guild. Suddenly, Ark stumbles onto some bandits attacking a carriage, forcing Ark to lay low, all whilst the bandits begin to pillage the carriage. Wondering if it's all right to kill other humans, Ark watches as the bandits force themselves onto 2 women. Unable to allow the disgusting men to go further, Ark stealthy appears behind the leader, dispatching him and some of his men, which draws the remaining bandits' attention. As the remaining begin to flee, Ark performs his Wyvern Slash, easily eliminating the remaining men. Checking on the girls, the 2 thank Ark, introducing themselves as Lauren Larea du Louvierte and her attendant Rita. Asking about the reason for Ark wandering the forest, Ark is forced to make up a backstory in his head, about how he is a holy knight cursed with a skeleton body, and is on an adventure to break the curse. But before he answers, he asks that the girls fix themselves up, as he cleans up the bandits' corpses. Noting that it's unethical to slay other humans, Ark begins to burn the corpses, not wanting to leave any traces, but can't help feeling no remorse for taking another's life, believing the men got what they deserved. Checking out the bandits' loot, Ark realizes it's a great opportunity to take the bandits' money, surmising that it would be a good start to his adventure. Happy to see the girls have changed Ark accompanies to 2 to where they are heading, all whilst Lauren stares at Ark. Chatting with Rita, Rita thanks Ark for helping her, wanting to know Ark's name. Beginning to fabricate a backstory, Ark impresses both ladies, only to part ways as he returns to the guild. Placing the corpses on table, Ark impresses the guild, having not expected him to slay creatures and acquire his license so quickly. Realizing that Ark had forgotten to remove a runestone in the orc he's slain, Ark learns that runestones are valuable, able to be sold, and be used for crafting. Given his official license, Ark learns that quests will be posted on frequently. Sadly, there are no interesting quests, and Ark will have to look elsewhere for tougher challenges. Resting for the day, Ark has a feast brought up to his room, where he is finally able to remove his helmet and enjoy the food in peace. Tearing into some meat, Ark notes the meat's unique flavor, whilst flushing it down with a fruity beverage. Picking up the runestone he acquired, Ark notes the beauty of the item. Following Ark, we see he's taken his first quest, a simple one, tasked with guarding Herb Collector. Asking for directions, Ark is guided through a peaceful village, heading towards a house. In the house we see two little girls, Marka and Helena, enjoying their meal. When they hear a knocking, Marka runs to get the door, only to have Ark tower over Marka, who wonders why a knight is here. Before Marka breaks down into tears, at the sight of Ark's terrifying stature, Ark reveals that he's here to escort her to retrieve herbs. Apparently, Ark had accepted a simple quest, as to not stand out in the world, and had been warned to be gentle with the villagers. Sitting down, Ark apologizes for looking so scary, which Marka wonders why such a prestigious being is accepting her lowly quest. But Ark reassures her that there is no mistake, as Ark personally has an interest in learning about herbs himself. Happy to hear that, Marka asks if they could head out right away, running off to get ready. Happily trotting through the forest, Ark asks Marka for the reason she wants to complete the quest so fast, having assumed that it might be related to the increase in boar sightings around the village. Sadly, Marka reveals that her father had passed recently, and it was his job to pick herbs. Therefore she wants to share her mother's burden by helping out, but her mother would never approve of such actions, so she must pick the herbs before she comes home. Almost brought to tears, Ark is delighted to accompany such a noble young girl, as when he was her age, all he did was game. Wanting to help her pick tons, to impress her mother, they head deeper into the forest, where Marka spots Kokora herb, meant to help with cuts and scrapes. Complimenting Marka's knowledge of herbs, Marka gets flustered, wanting to venture deeper into the forest. But suddenly Ark senses a nearby presence, ordering Marka to come back and stay close. Approaching a bush, Ark spots a multi-tailed squirrel, clearly agitated due to its injury. Reaching out, the squirrel bites Ark's fingers, but Ark allows it, as he gently lifts the creature up. Thinking of a spell, Ark begins casting a healing spell that heals the creature's cut, impressing both the squirrel and Marka. Running circles around Ark, the squirrel is clearly grateful for Ark, wanting to stay with Ark. Thinking of a name for the creature, Ark refers back to the creature's fluffy tail, naming it Ponta. Happy about its name, Ponta begins scuttering around Ark's armor, as Ark has now added a new companion. Back at the village, a hunter collapses to his knees, having discovered a dangerous creature in the forest. Having come back, Shona, Marka's mother, is asked if she had sent Marka into the forest, but Shona states that Marka should be at home, learning that she had gone into the forest, where this mysterious creature is. Back with Ark, we see that Marka has led him to the Kobumi tree, an all-white tree, fully in bloom. Happy to see Marka enjoying her time, Ponta and Ark both sense danger, as a creature awakes from its slumber. Towering over Marka, Ark realizes that this creature must have been the one that gave Ponta his scar. Raising its feet, the creature stomps on the frightened Marka, only to realize she has disappeared. Having saved Marka, Ark readies his blade, as the creature lets out a poison fog. Instantly teleporting from its sight, the creature swings around, letting out a terrifying roar, which allows Ark to deduce that the creature is a giant basilisk. As the creature claws at Ark, Ark is seen not budging, even jumping back and evading the creature's outstretched tongue. Maniacally marching forward, the creature continues to barrage Ark, as he has no choice to continue to defend, as Marka hides behind Ark. Trying to spot a pattern in the creature's movements, the basilisk's eyes become red, as it gazes in Ark's direction, petrifying every living thing in its path. Luckily, Ark makes use of his shield, nullifying the creature's effects, as Ark triumphantly mocks and blocks the creature's attacks. Spotting an opening in the creature's movements, Ark encases the creature in a spell, opting for a top-tier spell, penetrating the creature with a giant magic blade. Having not expected to one-shot the creature, Ark quietly celebrates the kill, reassuring Marka that the danger is gone. Jumping in joy, Marka can't wait to tell the villagers about Ark's feat, but Ark asks Marka to keep their adventure a secret, which Marka agrees to. Inspecting the basilisk's corpse, Ark spots a strange ring around the creature's leg, right before it disappears. Apparently, the increased sighting of boars around the village was most likely due to the sudden appearance of the basilisk. Before the two head back to the village, Ark reasons it would be best to bring back a boar, as a present to the villagers. Amazed at the giant creature, Ark states that he'll take all the valuable parts of the boar for himself, but the meat should be divided amongst the villagers. Seeing her mother, Marka attempts to explain her situation, but her mother simply embraces her, happy to see that her daughter is okay. Stepping in, Ark apologizes for not consulting her, before allowing Marka to enter the forest, but reassures her that Marka loves her mother dearly. Happy that Marka and her mother have made up, Ark chats with the other villagers, as they wonder if Ark had encountered a powerful creature in the forest, which Ark says he didn't, as only Marka and him know the truth. That evening, Ark makes his final remarks, as Helena gives Ark a flower crown, and Marka pets Ponta. Before Ark departs, he reassures Marka that their paths will cross one day. That night, we witnessed hundreds of soldiers rally together to slay another giant basilisk, suffering 15 casualties and 38 wounded. As the men make their way around the village, the leaders stumble onto the basilisk that Ark slayed, able to figure out that a single person was able to slay the creature so elegantly, and only with a single blow. Wondering what type of god or devil slayed it, we cut to Ark and Ponta enjoying a pleasant well-earned meal, as Ark sets his sights on completing a harder quest. Chasing down suspicious men, both Ponta and Ark are seen completing basic quests, simply to pay off their daily expenses. Luckily, on this particular quest, Ark realized that the men had been hoarding tons of money. Scanning the room, Ark notes the disturbing cages, wondering the types of creatures the men were keeping, only to take whatever loot he can before leaving. Following a scummy noble, it's revealed that he was the one that had sent bandits after Lauren and her escort, but learns that a passing mercenary had thwarted the bandits. Additionally, it was him that had the two mysterious giant basilisks placed in the forest, but finds out that the two creatures were incompatible with one another, and by now have both been slain. Beginning to scheme, the noble begins speaking of products that are vital to his plans, and that they cannot be found out no matter what. Wondering where his son is, the noble learns that his son will be the one handling the product. Back with Ark, we see him heading out of a cave, with the spoils of his quest, only to be attacked. Instantly reacting, Ark is forced to weave the attack's strikes, mistaking the attacker for a bandit, but upon seeing her face, Ark realizes that she is the elf he saw in the alley. Bringing out his blade, Ark is able to stop the elf from attacking, halting her blade with his own. Speaking up, the elf demands that Ark return the slaves that he had captured, not realizing that Ark is not a bandit. When Ark tries to explain the situation, the elf doubles down, disappointed that a knight would dabble in slavery. Attempting to reason with the elf, Ark fails, but before the elf can resume her attacks, Ponta pops up, forcing the elf to halt her attacks, backing off as she admires Ponta. Realizing that Ponta is a spirit creature, the elf realizes that Ponta would only take a liking to pure-hearted humans, as Ark reveals that Ponta took a liking to him after he had helped heal its wounds. Apologizing for rushing to conclusions, the elf mentions she is looking for the bandits that have been hunting elves. Realizing that the cages were for the elves the bandits had captured, Ark states that he's on her side, as he personally had slayed the men in the cage. Learning that the men intend to sell the elves, Ark asks if he could be of any assistance, but the elf rejects the offer, as she personally does not want to work with a man. Being rejected, Ark stands firm, wanting to spend some time and go on adventures with a beautiful elf, just like in the games he played. Heading to dinner, Ark and Ponta stuff themselves, as Ark regrets not asking the elf for her name, now setting his sights on something else. The next day, Ark makes his way to the elven forest, wanting to speak with other elves for himself. Suddenly Ponta begins acting strange, only for Ark to hear distant screaming, happy that he's found a clue regarding the elves being captured. As a single girl, desperately running from her captives, she unfortunately trips, being recaptured, as we lay eyes on Udolan, the noble's son. Staring daggers at Udolan, the bratty noble begins to torture the girl, only to have her placed back in the cage, all whilst Ark observes from afar. Seeing Udolan, brandish his blade in front of the elves. Ark can't help but to step in, but before he does, the elf appears, cutting down 2 of Udolin's men. Wondering who she is, Udolin learns that she is a dark elf, which is highly valued, but Udolin could care less, allowing his men to do whatever they want. As the men make their way towards the dark elf, they are all subsequently cut down, as the men soon realize that the dark elf has the makings of a warrior. With every slash, the dark elf easily makes her way closer towards the captured elves, all whilst Ark grows more and more impressed, as she is clearly strong. Suddenly, Udolin calls out to the dark elf, ordering her to not move, as he's now using the slaves as hostages. Calling out Udolin's cowardness for using others as slaves, the dark elf is ultimately unable to do anything, as the men begin ravaging her. Slowly the dark elf begins to shed tears, but Ark makes his triumphant entrance, appearing behind Udolin. Ark smashes Udolin into a tree, putting him to sleep, which frees the dark elf. Working together the two clean up the remaining men. Happy to see that the girls are okay, the dark elf looks for a way to free them, realizing that she needs a key. Not wanting Ark's help anymore, Ark ignores the dark elf's wishes, as he rips the lock of the cage, greeting the frightened children. As the girls rush to the dark elf in relief, she realizes that the girls had been trapped with a cursed collar, meant to prevent elves from using their spirit magic. Inspecting the item, Ark uses a curse-breaking spell, easily destroying the collars, whilst also healing any wounds the girls had. Amazed at Ark's nonchalant spellcasting, the dark elf watches as the children cling to Ark, all whilst he plays with the children. Suddenly a bird lands on the dark elf, only for the dark elf to begin speaking to it, asking for reinforcements to help guide the girls back to safety. Giving the bird directions, the elf sends the bird on its way. Wondering what type of creature that bird was, the dark elf reveals that it's a whispering fowl, able to remember and communicate messages between other elves, which impresses both Ponta and Ark. As several elves arrive to take the children back, Ark promises the girls that he'll come to their aid, sending them off with a pleasant feeling. Wondering who Ark is, and how he's able to teleport, Ark introduces himself and Ponta, prompting the dark elf to introduce herself as Ariane Glennis Maple, an elven warrior. Thanking Ark for the help, they are interrupted, as a whispering fowl appears, only to relay a message to Ariane. Giving Ariane her next mission, Ariane asks if Ark would assist her, as she wants to hire Ark for their next mission.